Hello! If you're new here, hi, my name is Laurel. I moved from Minnesota to Arizona about 2 years ago now, and I just want to talk about my experience and what it is like to live in Arizona. This is the ugly truth of living in Arizona. Pay no mind to the mess that is conveniently covered up. Pay no mind to the man behind the curtain. I will be referencing one of my older videos. I'll link it right here. This video also covers a little bit more serious topics than the more lighthearted ones on my other videos, but I would just love for you to listen to them with an open mind. These are based on my experience and are by no means the law of the land. I do live in the Phoenix metro area. Most of the stuff in this video can be applied to the whole state. All right, the thing that everybody wants to know, the heat. I just want to dive a little bit deeper into the heat. This will be my third summer in Arizona. I can't believe it. The previous two had been drastically different from each other, so I'm really curious to see what this third one looks like. My first summer in Phoenix, we got so much rain, and it was really cool up until about June. It seemed like there was a rainstorm every other week during the summer. We got so much rain, and it was awesome to see so many thunderstorms. But in 2020, like good old 2020 fashion, we had, I think it was 50 consecutive days of either over 100 or over 110. Either way you spin it, that's really, really hot, especially for 50 consecutive days. It seemed like the heat was never going to end. Last summer also broke records for how hot it was. Yeah, last summer, the heat actually did start to get to me. I think a combination of quarantine and not being able to go outside because it's so hot really started to get to me. I do get dehydrated very easily. I don't think I have a properly working thirst mechanism. Thirst mechanism, that sounds like a pro wrestling champion. Thirst mechanism! Anyway, I have never had dehydration headaches as much as I do here. I've learned how important it really is to stay properly hydrated at all times, even when you're not hiking. Heat is also the most dangerous part about living in Arizona, especially in the valley. The heat will kill you faster than anything else here. I had one comment on my other video asking how tolerable the heat really is. If it was unbearable, people wouldn't live here. Last summer, the AC in my car actually crapped out on me in June in Arizona in the summer. Things in my Arizona car with no AC that just make sense. The windows rolled down so I don't die. The temperature to gauge how hot it is. So if I can survive almost a year of no AC in my car in Arizona, you'll be fine. I do want to be honest though, my first couple days after moving to Arizona were really a test for me. As a thoroughbred northern beefy hardy woman. I'm bred for the cold. My ancestors were bred for the cold. So now moving to the desert, I felt like in my DNA, it just felt different and it felt like I didn't belong here. Granted, there is a little bit of an acclimation period that you have to get used to in any kind of weather. And I think after about 2 years, my blood has thinned out a little bit, as they say. Yeah? Okay. We have a guest. While my boyfriend was loving the heat and going out on hikes in the middle of the day like an actual crazy person, the initial shock of the heat had me questioning if I would really make it here. But once I realized the importance of hydration and, you know, not going on hikes in the middle of the day in the desert in the summer, and realizing all of the beauty that the desert had made it worth it in itself. So once you kind of put all those pieces together, it's not as bad. It's bearable. Another thing in the summer, everyone flocks to water sources in the summer. And granted, there are water sources and lakes and rivers in Arizona in the metro area and up at the rim. They're not as common as somewhere in like Minnesota or Wisconsin. So you have a large population of people going to less bodies of water. So they do get very crowded. At the same time with the heat, I do kind of like when it's 90, 100 degrees at 10, 11 p.m. at night, because you can just wear a tank top and shorts and drive around with your windows down, and it's just this kind of cozy, nice warm where you can just walk around and not need a jacket or a sweatshirt or anything. It's a very strange feeling. And 100 degrees at night obviously feels very different than 100 degrees during the day. The sun is just, it's very, very powerful here. Another thing with the heat that I thought was so weird, it could be 90 degrees and sunny. You jump in the pool, you get back out, and you're shivering because there's no humidity for that water to like cling to your skin, it just instantly starts evaporating and makes you really, really cold. It's a very strange phenomenon that I've never experienced before. Overall, I think the heat depends on the person. I see people wearing pants and sweatshirts in the summer, so I've gone on hikes in the middle of the day and felt like I was actually dying. I still like to think that even this summer you can swim when it's hot, but you can't be outside in the winter in the Midwest. Your face will fall off. Although I love Arizona so much, the heat is probably the number one reason why I have hesitations about staying here for the long run. Next thing I want to talk about is fires. Because Arizona is such a dry place, fires are a significant and scary threat. They can happen in pretty much any part of the state because much of the state is considered a high hazard fire area. In the summer, there are warning signs all over the place saying extreme fire danger, moderate fire danger, mild, and so on. Campfires and grills are not allowed in the summer because they do pose a threat to fires starting. And the park systems take it very seriously. You can get fined if you don't follow the rules. One time my boyfriend and I were coming down I-87 from a day hike up in the mountains when suddenly everyone on the freeway started getting directed off of the freeway, and we're thinking, this is the only way back to the city. Where are they taking us? The brush fires burned for a really, really long time, like days, and they could be seen from 40 miles away. Sometimes when you're driving away from the cities, you can see burnt saguaros or burnt fields from where brush fires have passed through, which is kind of scary to think that's happening right next to the road. One of our day trips actually to Saguaro Lake got cut short because we couldn't even get into the entrance of the park because fire had come through and destroyed everything. It even melted one of those metal speed limit signs. That's how hot it was. Another thing I want to talk about is hazardous air quality. Because Phoenix is a valley, air pollution and dust kind of just settles into this little bubble. Air quality downtown can be especially bad for people with asthma and can even cause asthma attacks. Luckily, I don't have asthma, so I don't have to deal with that problem. But it is still concerning. Some days the sky is even more hazy on the horizon, and it's even harder to see the mountains. I have heard it's partially because of the planes, so later in the day it becomes more hazy due to all the traffic and the planes flying in. And the air pollution does range from city to city. The main reason why this came up on my radar is because I was checking the weather one day, and up at the top it said hazardous air quality for sensitive groups, which I had never seen before in the Midwest. I've never seen it probably ever. So that was something that was very new to me, and I had to figure out what it meant. So after doing my own research, I actually learned poor air quality hurts marginalized communities and those in poverty the most. You may have your own opinions about whether systematic racism exists in this country or not, but here are the facts. It all dates back to the 1860s when blatantly racist policies were put into place in the city. I'm going to quote this article so I get it right. After World War II, people of color were denied federal loan programs for low-interest mortgages. Thus, white people were able to move north, away from the factories, creating a growing suburban middle class in the northeast of the city, according to a paper published by Arizona State University researchers in 2005. If you want to learn more about this topic, I will link that article in the description of this video. So, if you struggle with asthma and air quality is something that is concerning to you, that could be something to look into more before moving to Phoenix. Something odd I also want to discuss is smell. Sometimes when I go walking through my neighborhood, I get a nice, odorific, overwhelming odor. I'm not sure if it is human crap or dog crap or a combination of both, but it smells. It typically hangs around these weird sewagey drain pipe things. I don't know what they are. I don't notice gross smells all the time, but it does happen in more densely populated areas. And I think maybe that's just a large city thing. Maybe it's because of poor facility access to those who might not have them. It's not a huge deal. I don't see it very often, but it does come up every now and then. But if that's something you think is horrifying, then maybe don't move here. Now I'm going to talk about guns and firearms. Someone I know, I'm not going to say who, wanted to buy a gun for safety and defense purposes. They went on their lunch break, passed the background check, paid $500, and walked out 30 minutes later with a gun. No classes, no training, no warnings, no safety precautions. So really any Joe Schmo could walk in off the street, pass a background check, pay the money, and walk out with a weapon, with zero idea of how to handle it, and that to me is terrifying. I've shot guns before. I've felt what it's like to have that power in your hand and what it can do and what it has done. Some people might think it's awesome to have that loose of gun laws in this state and having guns being so easy and accessible, but frankly, in my opinion, it's irresponsible. In my other video that I mentioned, I did mention my concerns about the moving to a red state because of gunslinging, high-key racist white people. Now, while that was meant as a joke, I understand how people took it as an unfair generalization. In my experience living in Minnesota and Wisconsin, when you get out of the cities and you go to more rural areas, I've encountered people with less open mindsets, and they are often gun nuts too. And of course, this does not apply to everyone. You do not need to be a hillbilly to own a gun. Those two are not mutually exclusive. My point here is this. In that video, I had comments singing, you know, the gun toters are the one that will protect you if the situation calls for it, or if the need arises, which is, I would hope that is true. And in the next breath, I had lots of disturbing comments saying things like this. So you tell me if you think Arizona gun laws are problematic or not. The next thing I want to talk about is rent prices, and this is actually something that has come up fairly recently in my life. I just learned that Phoenix is actually one of the worst places for renters, and it's one of the most expensive places for renters, which frankly makes sense. What's that sound? It's my wallet crying? I think Phoenix used to be a much more affordable place to live. I think people are realizing how great of a city it is, and I think a lot of people from California who can't afford to live in California are now coming here because it's more affordable, but still not that far away from California and the West Coast, which is fine. You're allowed to live in whatever state you please. We are 50 states, not 50 countries. You can live wherever you want. Thank you very much. I will post a few articles down below with some recent statistics about the Phoenix area. We are moving out of this apartment into a house. While the house isn't even that much more expensive than the place we are here, we're getting more for our money. So I really enjoy the area I live in right now. I think it's great. It's walking distance, it's centralized, but it's expensive. So it depends on where you are. It's hard to gauge. Phoenix is such a huge metro area. It depends on where you want to be. If you want to be East Valley, West Valley, North, South, they're all going to be different price ranges. I did want to touch on one last thing before we go, and that is racism. Unfortunately, racism is everywhere. It's in blue states, it's in red states. It is not a bipartisan issue, or at least it shouldn't be. I know people think that they're untouchable in the comment sections on videos, but I've seen a lot of shocking comments on my videos regarding race and about how we don't need diversity. I have not seen that kind of open, shocking, disturbing racism until I moved here. Granted, I don't know if those people are Arizona residents or not. They could be anywhere. They did click on my Arizona video, so who knows. I did have a lot of people of color reach out to me on Instagram thanking me for my candor, and that I did mention that, you know, if you're a person of color moving into a predominantly white city, there could be some concern there. And that's not for me or any other white person to feel bad about. It's just something that I wanted minorities to know. And I think that the fact that people have thanked me for that just speaks volumes to why I said it in the first place. While hateful people are very loud, I have met a lot of people in Arizona that are accepting, diverse, kind, and there were even Black Lives Matter protests downtown, and there's even a Black Lives mural. So there are many people like myself that believe in acceptance and inclusion. There are a few other things I could talk about in this video, such as problems with public education, child welfare, water shortages, and droughts, but I would need to do my own in-depth research before I can talk to you lovely people about it, and before I am accurately able to present that information to you. If you have experience with the Arizona public education, please leave a comment below. I would love to hear more about that from someone who has actually experienced it. I'm sorry if this video wasn't as funny as some of my other videos, but I think a lot of it needs to be said, and a lot of people are curious about, okay, what are the bad things about Arizona? What am I getting myself into? And even though these are concerning things to be aware of, I do still really love Arizona. And I encourage everybody to come visit at least one time in their life. If you like this video, please hit that like button so that I know to make more videos just like this one. And leave me some comments below and let me know what you think. There are now 2,000 of you here on this channel, which is just completely unreal to me. And I'm so excited to keep growing my channel with you. Spread love and listen to each other. You are important. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks. There's an overwhelming odorous odorific. But most of the video, that's bad. As much as that doesn't make sense. Maybe it's a, no, that's stupid.